What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Mr. Mustache MMA News. Today, I want to discuss last Saturday's UFC 300 prelims and early prelims to basically recap what happened and what's next for the winners and the losers. Guys, before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly and help the channel grow. All right, guys, getting right into it. Starting from the top, working our way down to the bottom. Yuri Prohaska defeats Alexander Rakic by knockout in the second round. What a comeback, right? You had Rakic looking clean, sharp with the punches, devastating leg kicks. Yuri had no answer for those leg kicks. He eventually switched stances later in the end of the first round, but really had no true defense to what Rakic was throwing at him. He was doing his typical Yuri stance and taking shots, showing a chin of iron against Rakic, who definitely has the ability to put someone out. Yuri looked damn fucking good, and I think it just goes to show, too, how much power Alex Pereira has. But with Yuri in this fight, man, he looked good. It was a good comeback fight for him. Had to battle through major adversity. Alexander Rakic looked really good in this fight until he didn't, until he got caught in that second round. And I think moving forward with Yuri, probably, if he doesn't get the Alex Pereira rematch, like if somehow Pereira goes up to heavyweight, I know people were saying that Dana wasn't too keen on that. I did not see the post-fight press conference, but if Pereira does not go up to heavyweight, that would be a good fight, but also maybe a Jamal Hill and Yuri Prohaska, because I think Jamal Hill, I still think that he still has traction. I don't think he lost all that much hype in that loss. I think that we got to see really just how fucking devastating Alex Pereira is, at least for myself. In hindsight's 2022. You got Jamal Hill, a guy who likes to circle right into that left hook, coming back from that Achilles injury on short notice. The writing was really on the wall, but I thought Jamal Hill was good, so that just did not age well for myself. But I think Yuri, I think Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, I think either of those fights would work very well for Yuri Prohaska. As for Rakic, again, doesn't lose all that much hype in defeat. He looked good until he didn't. It just sucks that he's just been so inactive over the last few years. And then for him to finally come back healthy and then get finished like that kind of blows. But I'd like to see that rematch with Jan Blachowicz when Jan Blachowicz comes back. I think Rakic, after getting finished like that, maybe take a little bit of time off, let himself heal before he comes back again. So maybe Jan Blachowicz, Alexander Rakic Part 2 fight, I think that would make sense as well. But nonetheless, I think both guys looked good. That was pretty close to one of my favorite fights of the entire card myself. Great fight. Moving next, Aljamain Sterling defeats Calvin Kattar by unanimous decision in a lackluster fight, right? Like, it just goes to show, like, they did not give Aljamain Sterling the mic after the victory. He did not get his speech, his victory speech. It just goes to show. But then again, like, listen, Aljamain Sterling against Calvin Kattar. What did he really truly have to do to get the victory? Was like the UFC just hoping that Calvin Kattar was going to pull out his elite boxing and just put Aljo away? Because Aljo's game plan against Calvin Kattar was fairly obvious. He really had to get it to the ground and utilize his grappling and maybe find a submission, but if he didn't find that, it was going to be a boring fight. So I'm not really shocked why everybody's so like, oh my God, like fuck Aljamain Sterling. What did you really expect? But he got the victory, did what he had to do, didn't look good doing it, kind of sucked. We are the ones who really faltered from that. I forgot the guy's, Trey, I forgot his last name, but Trey on the Miller DC show on YouTube, he said that this fight was tailor-made for Aljamain Sterling. I don't agree with everything that guy says. He's a bit of a goofball, but he was spot on that this fight was tailor-made for Aljamain to go out there. You had Calvin coming off of such an injury. It really truly was a tailor-made fight. As you watch, it was like, fuck, man, you just had no answer for the wrestling whatsoever. And I think moving forward, Calvin's going to have to do some thinking on what he wants to do, because he's in the twilight of his career now, especially at featherweight. Does he want to move up in weight? That might benefit him, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that would, but his athleticism is losing. He's a little bit more hesitant And now there's a very clear blueprint and game plan to defeat him. Aljo just showed that. But for Aljo next, I'd like to see Brian Ortega. I think Aljamain Sterling, Brian Ortega, that is a matchup made in heaven. I think Aljo's wrestling, his jiu-jitsu would match up really well with the bottom guard game, the slick submission game of Brian Ortega. I think they'd cancel each other out on the feet. I think that fight would play out on the ground. But nonetheless, and I think Brian Ortega takes that fight. But Aljo, man, as boring as that fight was, as shitty as that fight was for us to watch, damn good fighter. Damn good fighter. Next up, Kayla Harrison dominates Holly Holm, finishes her in the second round in her UFC debut. I mean, answered all the questions, went out there, passed the weight cut, didn't look too tired, looked strong, kept her strength going down, and was able to find the finish over a superstar legend of Holly Holm. Now, Holly isn't who she used to be, no, but this was a good first test for Kayla Harrison. And moving on for Kayla, Mayra Bueno Silva, Raquel Pennington. I think those are like the two obvious ones. You either give her like a number one contender fight or just throw her right into the title fight. I mean, she passed her test with flying colors, with her PFL pedigree, with her resume over there being the multiple-time champion, with her Olympic gold medal resume. It makes sense that she doesn't have to earn anything in the UFC, especially with what's going on in that division as well. So I think that putting her right into a title shot against Raquel Pennington makes complete sense. As for Holly Holm, if she wants to compete, cool. She wants to hang it up, cool. You have nothing else to prove. You had a phenomenal career. World champion. Took out Ronda Rousey. Just the longevity of her career, ups and downs, but she's been at the top her entire time, and it's been phenomenal to watch. So, I mean, if she decides to hang it up, wouldn't hate it. I'd respect the hell out of it. Next up, Diego Lopez finishes Sadiq Yusuff 90 seconds into the first round, where his power carried down to 145. Just looked devastating, looked strong, explosive, confident, right? Like, the dude's got aura. He's got a vibe to him, and he's a showman. He's electric. In the way that he's able to create these momentum with his shots, and he's able to just throw these things together so well and so fluid, right? Looked damn good against Sadiq, who is a good prospect, a good veteran in his own right. So what's next for Diego? Does he stay at featherweight? Does he go up to lightweight? Well, if he stays at featherweight, he's got some good fights for him. You can give him an Aljamain Sterling. You can give him a Calvin Kattar, right? But even for Diego, it puts him right into the thick of it at featherweight. It really does. I think that he's a top 5 guy. But also, yeah, I think to look up at the matchup of Edson Barbosa and LaRon Murphy upcoming in May, I think he gets the winner of that fight. That would be perfect. Barbosa's coming off of the win over Sadiq Yusuff, and now he's taking on the undefeated, I guess, prospect of LaRon Murphy. I feel like LaRon has been this undefeated prospect for quite some time. Everybody's ducking him. I think the winner of that fight should be fighting Diego Lopez if he decides to stay at featherweight, which I do think is the weight class for him. For Sadiq, take some time off. It's 2 in a row now. I think he's good. Can he make bantamweight? Dude's got some thick legs, man. He's got a thick lower half, bro. Like, that guy is packing heat downstairs. I'd like to see him take some time off. I think he's good. I don't think he's gonna get cut. I still think he's got it. I just think he needs to take some time off, reevaluate, maybe change a weight class. Maybe he's a little bit undersized for a featherweight. I know he's about 5'6", 5'5". Who knows? Moving on, Renato Moicano defeats Jalen Turner in the second round for one of the most frustrating comebacks to watch. You had Renato utilizing good grappling in that first round, then gets dropped, right at the end of the first round. Jalen Turner drops him with a straight. And Jalen decides to turn around, turn around, and act like the fight was over. Absolutely fumbling the bag, which would have been one of the coolest moments if they did stop the fight. But obviously Moicano was still in it. He was still there. Good job at Herb Dean and not stopping the fight. Shame on Jalen Turner for letting that slip away, because going into that second round, Moicano went to work in the grappling, got it down, controlled him, smothered him, and was able to finish the fight via ground and pound. Fuck, that must have been frustrating for Jalen. I mean, you got to go out there, man. You had an opportunity to get $300,000 bonus, and you let that slip through. Nate Diaz, I mean, as much as I love Nate Diaz, he's probably one of my favorite fighters of all time. That just shows, like, when Nate pointed at Leon Edwards, he sacrificed that win for one of the coolest moments of all time. That was a cool moment, but you got finished right after that. Like, it's frustrating. Great win for Moicano. He was able to hang in there. He was still in the fight. He took that fully seriously. Jalen Turner, who should have finished that fight, who should have been the winner, now just took a fucking devastating L. That was hard to watch. But moving forward, Moicano now has found himself in some good traction, right? Especially over in the lightweight division. What do you do, right? Maybe a Bobby Green and Renato Moicano might make good sense. Bobby Green just beat the brakes off of Jim Miller, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. So maybe a Bobby Green for Moicano. But I think Moicano needs to do a little more. I think Dan Hooker just got announced with somebody, but maybe a Dan Hooker and Moicano. I think that would make good sense. I think that would be a firework matchup. As for Jalen Turner, I'm not sure. That really had me frustrated. Maybe, I was about to say Bobby Green, but he just beat the shit out of Bobby Green a few months ago. I don't know. But for Jalen Turner, man, that's frustrating. That is so frustrating for me. But it's frustrating for him. What an event. That was such a good event. But anyways, moving on. Jessica Andrade defeats Marina Rodriguez by split decision in a back and forth fight, right? I forgot how I scored the first round, but I remember I think it was the second and third round that I saw Andrade take over, if I'm not mistaken. I just thought that whereas Marina was doing really good in the distance, was managing distance really well, but at times Andrade was able to cut off that cage. And as Marina was starting to fade a little bit, Andrade just kept moving forward, kept biting down in her mouthpiece. Really just, what's the word I want to use? Just changing levels really well with her striking, right? Body shots, going up, just really punishing Marina. And I think dropping her in the second, and then her at the end of the third round as well, just was just able to almost finish the fight as well. I just feel like that damage outweighed the volume on Marina Rodriguez. I thought they got it right. 29-28 for Jessica Andrade. Was a close fight. You could make your argument for Marina. I do understand why it was a split decision, because she definitely did have her moments of like control time, octagon control. Her volume was definitely, she was utilizing her distance very well at bigger moments of the fight, like longer moments of the fight. But Andrade was just able to just punish her, and I just thought she won a fist fight. I thought she won that fist fight. It wasn't really, I just thought that she just landed the more damage, more punishing moments, especially later on in the rounds as well, I thought. And I think towards the end of the round, I definitely always value more than the beginning of the round. How you finish that round, I definitely always value more than how you start a round. But nonetheless, great victory for Andrade. Marina still looked good in defeat. I'm not really sure what's next with the women's strawweight division. There's still, Andrade is definitely working her way towards a rematch with Wei Li, but maybe another rematch with Yan Nan. Andrade has kind of been in there with everybody, so I kind of, whatever she really wants to do, she's kind of, I don't know, yeah, she's so active. She is the Cowboy Cerrone of women's MMA. Next up, Bobby Green defeats Jim Miller, beat the brakes off Jim Miller for 3 rounds. Crazy scorecards, 30-27, 30-25, 29-26, just all over the place. I think I had it 29-27. No. How did I have it? I forgot exactly how I had it. I think it might have been 29-27. But I forgot how I scored it exactly. But nonetheless, man, Jim used good technical ability to be able to find Bobby Green and capitalize off of Bobby having such a low stance with his hands, such a low guard with his hands. Jim was able to find that and use good counters in the first round. But as you saw time go on, Bobby just used that jab and just beat the shit out of Jim Miller, man. Pieced him up for 3 rounds. Hard to watch at some points. Jim was a dog, stayed in it, showed heart, showed resilience. But man, Bobby Green would not be denied. He looked sharp, he looked good, looked confident, swagger, all that good stuff. Great fight. What's next for Bobby? Whatever he wants. He's at that time in his career. He's not chasing belts. He's going for good fights, good fun fights. I'd watch Diego Lopez with Bobby Green if Diego decides to go back up to lightweight. I think that would be a cool fight to watch. Maybe Renato Moicano, like I said before. As for Jim Miller, again, I don't think he's going to retire, but if he wants to, wouldn't hate it. Like, the guy's had a Hall of Fame career. Fuck you, DC. Hall of Fame career. Whatever he wants to do. He's Jim fucking Miller, right? Like, whatever that guy wants to do. If he wants to keep doing it, I think give him good matchups. Keep him as that gatekeeper for lightweight. Have him fight those up-and-comers who are making their debuts. I think Jim Miller still has a few more in him, but if he decides to hang it up, wouldn't hate it whatsoever. All right, guys, last but not least, Deiveson Figueiredo finishes Cody Garbrandt in the second round. Man, in a back-and-forth fight. I remember at the end of the first, I thought Cody was getting the better of the exchanges of Deiveson on the feet. And in that second round, Deiveson did what he had to do, got it to the ground, smothered Cody, and was able to find the rear naked choke. Cody, who definitely was looking good defense, was surviving, showed resilience, but just, man, that last choke just kind of just did it in. And what makes me happy about that, I think that this is the best case scenario for a loss for Cody, unless it was like some sort of like close decision. Because even though he lost, no retirement, right? He's not out there taking crazy damage. He didn't go out there and get finished horribly. He went out there and had a competitive fight over a former champion from a different weight class moving up who's still looking good. He still looked good in defeat. Deiveson still looked good, did what he had to do to find the victory, found a finish over a Cody who had a fire under his ass, back against the wall, felt like he had to make a statement, and he showed a sense of urgency. He showed patience too, in the sense of like not getting frantic in these submission moments. You know, yeah, he did tap eventually, but early on, I mean, he was fighting very soundly on defense when it came to defending the submission attacks of Deiveson Figueiredo. So as for Cody, moving forward, again, the guy still has plenty of fights that are out there for him. Another roadblock towards the title, but he's still young, so there's still plenty of fights that he can go out there and do and put himself back in another little streak. So even though, yeah, he got finished, I don't think he loses any hype or traction in defeat. I don't think that his career suffers in defeat. But as for Deiveson Figueiredo, moving on, good fight for him, good victory for him. Especially with bantamweight, there's some pretty interesting things that he can do. But it's a good fight, man. It was a good fight. Good win for Deiveson. Sucks for Cody. I was really hoping for Cody to win that fight, but, you know, I'm just happy that he didn't get, like, slept or take a lot of damage. I'm happy that I could still at least see him fight in the future, right? But guys, that's going to do it for today. So let me know in the comment section what you guys thought. UFC 300. I loved it. I thought it was a great event. Can't wait. We're not going to be having another one until April 27th. So I'm going to be chopping up some shorts here of these videos. Be making other content before the 27th. So guys, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly. Help the channel grow. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Mr. Mustache, MMA News out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.